when Qdo, the project I am co-founder and CEO, when we joined Telos on the testnet. We've been running on the testnet since then.
All right, welcome everyone to the 2025 Telos Foundation Guardian Election AMA. We have a rare opportunity where we have 5 seats currently sitting vacant and will be filled in 5 days. My name is JT Bice. I'm one of the co-founders of Telos, and I'm your host for today's event, where democracy meets decentralization and where our candidates will compete for your votes using the ancient art of actually explaining what they plan to do to represent you, the community. So now, before we meet our brave candidates who have volunteered to spend their free time in governance meetings, let me explain how this is going to work. Each candidate will get 2 minutes to pitch their vision, so they'll need to be efficient. Some candidates couldn't join us today due to their day jobs and have submitted videos about their platform. I'll be your friendly neighborhood timekeeper. When I say as time is up, we will need to move along. More discussions can certainly be had in our governance channel on Telegram. At Hello Telos. So grab your coffee or tea, whatever keeps you awake during governance discussions, and we'll meet the individuals who want to help steer the good ship of Telos to greater adoption and success. We'll kick things off with our first candidate, Wow, who has submitted a video, followed by Mike, who has done the same.
Hi, my name is João, and I'm a proud member of the Telos community since 2020. That's more or less the time when Qdo, the project I am co-founder and CEO, when we joined Telos on the testnet. We've been running on the testnet since then, and by coincidence we will launch on the mainnet actually later this month, so stay tuned at qdo.io and follow us. So one of the reasons why we decided for Telos was its technology and its features, and Telos keeps being strong when it comes to being in the forefront of innovation, when it comes to Web3. The governance was also one of the key points of Telos, and it's currently being challenged. So I believe I can help there. My experience as more than 15 years entrepreneur dealing with technical teams, but also helping on strategy, on marketing. I think Telos, we need that to become more popular, and I believe we really need to go strong on partnerships with other networks, but also with applications coming to Telos. So I think we should have a very, very strong emphasis on that, while keeping the great technical capacity and keep on bringing the new technical updates we've been having. So yeah, if you believe that those are the key points where Telos deserves attention, yeah, vote for me. If not, I'm also gonna be around, as you understood, and I'm gonna be supportive of Telos and cheering up for my Guardian fellows and for the Telos ecosystem. So bye-bye.
Let's talk about some of the things that that I would do as a Guardian. You know, coming into it right now, it's difficult because Telos is missing its runway. The runway is gone. You know, it had a runway. I don't know what the numbers are. You know, there hasn't really been transparency on that. But I do sense that there really is no runway at this point. And, you know, it's difficult to make anything work when you don't have capital. But, you know, it's doable, and the chain, you know, didn't have capital when I first, you know, walked into it. You know, it saddens me that we missed out on a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity cost in you know, not capitalizing, you know, during that time frame that you have. You have, you know, a decade in crypto. So, you know, we're behind quite a bit, and, you know, I like to see us catch up. But, you know, one of the issues that, you know, a lot of people talk about is transparency. and for me, you know, it's definitely an important issue. You know, but it's an important issue, but it needs to have a simple fix. And you know, to be honest, there is a simple fix, and you know, the easiest thing to do would just be to have employees of the foundation or the TCD, or you know, you can't stop these people from you know, using DM and you know, having, you know, side conversations, right? It's kind of, you know, impossible to remove that. But what you can do is you can have everybody maybe do a daily or bi-weekly, or you know, a weekly. You know, I think bi-weekly would be fine. Some kind of log drop where they post onto a forum where only select few can post, but everyone can read it, and they you know, pretty much post what they've been doing and you know, what they've been working on. And I feel that's more than enough to keep the chain, you know, highly decentralized, and keeping staying away from the dangerous areas of it, you know, regarding like compliance, where you know, no one has you know, access to information.
Just for reference, Michael did send an 18-minute video that will probably be made public, and that was a short a little over 2-minute excerpt from it. Next up, however, is Jesse. Take it away,
Hello.
sir.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So yeah, I'm Jesse. Let's see, I founded Telos along with JT. Most people watching this probably know me already, but just in case you don't, I've been around Telos since 2018. I was on the first board that launched shortly after the network produced its first block. I was on the board until maybe about 1.5 to 2 years ago, when there were concerns about conflict of interest, because in 2021 I helped launch the EVM, and I came on as a full-time staff of the TCD, leading up all of our engineering. And since then I have just been grinding on Telos ever since. So I'd like to come back on the board. I think some of the events recently are a result of a lack of transparency. So I'm here to do a number of things. One, see that we get back to our roots, where we had very collaborative, non-centralized decision-making that allowed us to protect the best interest of Telos token holders and the network itself, and also to bring a technical view. I'm pretty familiar with everything technical at Telos and a lot of technical things outside of Telos. So bringing that perspective to the Guardians, because Telos is a technology-driven, you know, organization. It's a blockchain, so technology is really at the core of what's being done at Telos. So having a strong technical advisory member on the board is important. And then third, the history that I have been a part of, witnessed firsthand for 7 years now. I'd like to make sure that all that history is captured, is available to all of the Guardians, and we don't make the same mistakes we've made in the past. We learn from our mistakes, but I think most importantly to me, and what I will focus on besides those topics, is a look forward at the future, and the fact that Telos started, as Michael said, with no funds raised. We built our entire EVM with no funds raised, and now we're back to not having as much funds as we once did. So looking forward to a future for Telos where we can all benefit and enjoy everything that we've built together. So just keeping everybody focused on the future and improving the situation we're in.
Awesome. Thanks, Jesse. Next up, we have Ryan.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan from Cosmic Innovative. That's my company. Been around Telos from very beginning. Have not been actively. Can you guys see me here?
Yeah, we see you.
Yeah,
okay. My screen went black on me over here. So, yeah, I've been around Telos for a long time. Haven't been actively, engaging with the community, but always a part of it. And until recently, looking to really engage at all levels. That's why I'm showing up at the governance here. I think Telos has some unique architecture that everybody is semi-familiar with. I think that the actual technicals of the chain, I think because it's such a complicated chain, I think that people sometimes miss some of the more beneficial aspects of our architecture. As far as my platform and what I'm running for is, I'm bringing a very technical background. I've been in technology my entire life, and I appreciate that about Telos. I think that the transparency has been an issue, and I would like to help bring that about. Specifically, around with my company, I'm aligning with Telos and the initiatives to help bring users and kind of align with the whole aspect of it being an incubation studio. I want to help do that even outside of even chain resources and use my company to help do that. But in doing that, that's why I'm running as a guardian, is to make sure that the incentives and the chain and the ideals are all aligned.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Next up, we've got Will, or W Dude.
Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Telos. My name is W Dude. I'm a contributor to Telos. I'm one of 3 founders of Symmetric Finance, and I'm somebody who cares a lot about Telos and the direction that it's headed. And I want to contribute to the Telos blockchain and the community through the role of Guardian. And I think the first thing I want to say is I think that the role of Guardian is something that a lot of folks need to take a little bit deeper look at. It's not a builder role. It's not a business development for Telos role. It's a board role. It's here for oversight, for community representation, and for promotion of Telos. I'm running for Guardian because it's time we start getting back to being direct and open with each other and with ourselves. Telos is it's at a crossroads. We've got incredible tech, as you'll hear mentioned and you've heard mentioned. We have a passionate community. We have a core group of dedicated contributors that have kept the chain moving along, and we have massive potential from where we're at right now, but we've been held back, especially recently, by opaque structures, by silence, by top-down decision-making, and it doesn't reflect who we are as a chain. And so my priorities are simple. There are 3 of them: transparency, governance, and community voice. No more walls, no more silent budgets. Stakeholders deserve to know what's happening. We deserve to be able to talk about it. We deserve to know where resources are going and what resources we have. We deserve to be part of the planning. Governance. Guardians aren't meant to be mascots for the chain. It's meant to be an active role. This means reestablishing the Guardian role as an active check point in Telos's decision-making process. And I think the reporting and designing structures need actual work along with that. Last but not least, community voice. The ecosystem belongs to all of us. Guardians need to engage directly and consistently. These walls come down immediately.
All right. I got to cut you off. Sorry about
2
that.
minutes.
Got to give everybody equal time.
I'll say the rest later.
No, all good. All right. So we've got quite a number of community questions that were submitted both on the governance channel and that got DM'd to me. We will start to answer those since there's 3 of y'all here. 2 guys submitted videos. We're missing, I guess, 4 other people that are also running for Guardian. Just so that everybody knows, we say that they're running. You can go to app.telos.net. You can use your Anchor wallet there and be able to vote. We encourage every community and token holder to go and vote and participate in this governance process, as these are the people that are representing you, the community. So here are the first of those community questions. How we're going to do this, we'll just give each individual about 60 seconds to answer their version of these questions. And we'll go in alphabetical order and then reverse alphabetical order. And well, actually, that's not true. We'll round robin so that people can go first too. We'll go backwards this time. So W Dude, we'll start with you. And the first question is, what contributions have you personally made over the last 6 to 12 months that has added value to Telos and its community?
Sure. So I mentioned that I'm the co-founder of Symmetric Finance. I'm a builder on Telos Network. We have contributed, I think, greatly through that role to more transactions, more fees, more interest in the network, more liquidity on the network. I also host the DeFi Power Hour on hiatus until our relaunch, which is about ready. But the DeFi Power Hour is not a Symmetric focus show. It's a Telos focus show in which we talk about Telos DeFi. I'm also a frequent contributor to all Telos channels. You'll see me talking about governance. You'll see me putting out governance draft proposals. So I'm just overall a contributor to the community as a whole. So I'm fairly deeply involved in Telos and will continue to be regardless of the outcome of this election.
Yeah, I think that over this, best way is just say that I've aligned the company and what our initiatives are with to use the actual chain. I hope to see and show the community the results of those actions in the coming months. So as far as like 6 months to 12 months, I don't have any tangible things to show the community, but have a lot of things coming. And again, like my main contribution is to align the company and the resources to go down that path. And regardless of the election, we'll still intend to do that.
So for me, it's an interesting situation because I am, head of engineering and done a lot in the past 6 to 12 months. But I'm going to focus on just outside of that kind of responsibility as a staff member of the network. So I think my most direct contributions have been recently just trying to maintain some semblance of maturity and focus for people. We've had a lot of bumps recently, and just trying to keep everybody positive and focused on the facts and the best things for Telos, and not get too distracted by maybe things that are said or personal or emotional feelings, but just sticking with what's best for Telos long run has kind of been a focus for me over the past, I guess, few months. That's, I guess, a little short term, but besides that, just advocating for Telos and doing everything I can to build what's needed.
JT, you're muted, I think.
I apologize. Ryan, you're up for this one first. How do you envision making governance fair and accessible moving forward?
Yeah, I think the first thing that's needed, quite honestly, is voter decay. I think that the chain has been around for quite some time, and I think that we just have some stale votes that, unless we change systems completely, I think that kind of needs to change. We have some legacy tools out there too, like EOS Nation, that if you just by just voting, or just by putting a stake into Rex and everything, you're going to have like auto votes kick in and things like that. So I think our system is there. I think that we can also implement bidirectional communication on the EVM. I don't have direct insight onto that, but I believe that is very possible. And I think that would allow the full representation of the token holders to share their voice if they choose to. I think voter out, turnout is always a challenge.
Jesse, how about you?
So we currently have in progress, nearing completion, like a 4-pronged update that will expose the EVM to vote for block producers. That would be a first step to giving more access, because the majority of our users are on the EVM, so that they can at least contribute to selecting the validators of the network. Beyond that, once that's deployed, we can look at things like the Decide engine, if it makes sense to apply the same logic and expose EVM voting for governance ballots, which is what we have going on right now for the Guardians. That's what we're talking about. Beyond that, I think improving the tools a bit. Obviously, it's going to need a new tool or feature to expose the block producers EVM voting. That doesn't even exist. So get that working and just really focus on exposing the users of the EVM to Telos at its core. The other 3 features are decay, as Ryan mentioned, is in there, as well as the self-stake boost and the tiered BP pay. So those 4 are coming together in the next update.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. W Dude.
Yeah, so I think I would start by saying I'm wholly supportive of what we just heard in franchising. Tens of millions of tokens on the EVM network, vote decay. These are all wonderful things, and I'm fully supportive of these initiatives. And I think it undersells the issue that we have. If you see the response to the Guardian election, you would think that we're voting for new leaders for the chain, like a new CEO group or something like that. It's not really the Guardian's role. And I think it's a group of folks, especially on the EVM side, that are hungry for more participation. So it's not just about building out EVM voting and enfranchising voters. It's about how we run governance. And I know I only get a minute here, but I think if you take a look on the governance channel, you'll see some of my ideas where I think there's more direct voter participation with things like planning and budgeting and things like that. How we go about it is up to the community. It's not really within the purview of a Guardian, but I think it's incredibly important that we get more participation and not just build the venues for that participation, which, yeah, I agree is long overdue.
Okay. Awesome. All right. We'll come back to you, W Dude. As an elected Guardian, what will be your top priorities, particularly in areas like governance, transparency, accountability, and continuous community reporting? I know some of y'all have already talked about these items.
Sure. And I'm more than willing to put my money where my mouth is as far as the sort of 3 priorities that I have, which are right in line with this question: transparency, governance, and community voice. And I think that these are the top 3 issues that are in a Guardian's purview, where we can actually have a positive effect on the chain and on our governance structures and these sorts of things. So I do foresee a system where there is not just continuous community reporting, but planning that happens in front of the community and budgeting that happens with the community in mind, all open, all transparent, and all participatory. And so this is where my priorities are. I don't see a reason why. I understand that recently things have gotten much worse as far as this goes. I very much understand that. And I'm not here to place any blame. But what I'm here to say is we have an opportunity right now to do it different. I've seen the confusion. I've seen the frustration. I've seen the anger in the community lately. But I've also seen the biggest spark of energy that I've seen on Telos in a year, maybe. And I think that this is our time to take advantage of that and make our structures reflect our values.
Okay. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I'll make it very brief because I don't want to repeat too much. I think that transparency is very, very paramount. I think that, yeah, I would love to see it just extremely easy. We go to a single page and be like, here's who's working for Telos and who's making the money or getting a paycheck for it. I think that that's very important to the community as a whole. And I think that knowledge strengthens the community. Certainly from just a sentiment point of view. And then same thing with like funding. If we can see where I think it's very difficult right now to see. We've talked about the runway, if we have runway or not. I don't see that as necessarily being obvious. And I think that it would be helpful to the community to see those kind of things, and then to see what kind of what kind of runway we're working with and what we can do with it as a community.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Jesse.
So I think we need to get back kind of to our roots where Telos started, which is focused on transparency, decentralization, and focus on on-chain governance. So pushing more things through the chain so that not only are they transparent, but they're recorded on a public immutable ledger would be probably a good start. The original foundation contracts that the Guardians all are in custody of via multi-sig, supported such things, voting on chain for decisions. Obviously, there's things that can't be put to public purview that, maybe for time sensitive reasons, etc. So we'd have to figure out a strategy for that. But generally speaking, I think Telos needs transparency. It needs decentralized decision making so that the more people that are, participating in the decisions, the better security the network has against centralization. So those would probably be my main focuses. I think we did some things right in the past. We had quarterly reports. There were good things that we did. Those things fell off. I think it's important to learn what worked, learn what didn't, and get back on track and stay consistent.
I gotta cut you off. Gotta keep it moving. All right. So there's been a lot of discussion recently about, I guess, the combination of BPs and also Telos Foundation employees, and whether or not they should be allowed to also represent the community as a guardian. So one of the questions submitted is, should guardian seats be reserved exclusively for community representatives? And if not, how do you address the recent concerns raised around the issue? And Jesse, we're starting with you.
So I'd say that that's a valid concern. There's definitely not opportunity for, conflict of interest, etc. I will accept I'm a prime candidate. I think that there's a number of things. One, if I was on the board, I wouldn't want to be paid for my participation as a board member. I'm here as a founder, and I want to be a steward of the chain. As far as the conflict of interest, obviously, the Guardians can select, decide to not participate in a vote if there is a conflict of interest. I think that becomes critical. And I think it all is about, case by case. If there's something that is, we all need to be adults and, act like professionals and make the right decisions. And on a case by case basis, opt out of participating in a vote if there's potential for conflict, and put faith into the rest of the Guardians on making that decision without the person who may have that conflict.
Okay. Awesome. W dude, I think we're back in order.
The short answer is that ideally, yes. I've spent a career consulting with boards. I would never design a board that had employees as voting members on it. But we do have a little bit of a different situation, and this isn't always exactly a traditional board. What I've suggested is having ex officio or non-voting members come from the Telos Foundation and from TCD to represent those views, because they're incredibly important. And like Jesse alluded to, so much of our the institutional knowledge about who we are and where we came from as a chain belongs to these longtime contributors. And it is by no means a slight at those folks that I believe this. This is just what I believe is ethically the best way to go forward. So I think in a perfect world, you would have a board that was made up of community members with non-voting representation from TCD and TF, or whatever the entities are in the future that represent both those wings for Telos. So that's sort of where I see things.
Thank you, sir. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I think short answer is that yes, it would be a conflict of interest traditionally, but it's been brought up good points that it is we are operating a little bit differently. that's a fantastic idea as far as the non-voting members, to capture and bring in those perspectives that are crucial. But like, I think that where a lot of the conflict might come from too is that we just get more people involved. I think Jesse, as a founder, is going to just naturally be a guardian without holding the seat, and we want to bring in that presence and that perspective, and from as many people as possible, quite honestly. But again, like, I think that any BPs or some foundation members, they could have some conflict.
Great. All right. WD, we're starting with you now. Multiple candidates have stated that they would like to abolish the role of CEO. Can you please explain what the attendant benefits of this change and how this new structure would work?
I can't. I don't think I've suggested that directly yet, but I would certainly suggest that ideally, in the structures that I've put forward, that the CEO role would become obsolete. That if the TF or TF DAO, or how I see it, is coming to the community every quarter or every or biannually and presenting their plan and requesting funding, and then having some level or whatever the amount of funding is approved, that they can structure their leadership within however they want. And they can call each other whatever titles they want. I do not necessarily, I think in the long term, I would hope that the role of CEO becomes obsolete. That said, it is clearly within the realm of the Guardians to appoint and manage that CEO right now, and the role is institutionally part of what we do. And so I would follow that process with fidelity as long as the community hasn't decided on something different.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I could see it both ways. I think that a CEO's main benefit is going to come in addition to just the executive orders of everything is providing vision. And I think that if that vision is going to become from the wider community voice as a whole, and then kind of put together as fourth for Telos, I think that the role of CEO becomes less important, and could just be replaced with just having an executive order that carries out, or executive director that carries out the will of the community. The seat would be overseen by the Guardians to make sure that it's a person is putting forth everything that the community wanted to. But so I think that short term, maybe if we need the vision, but as we've seen too, a CEO can provide some vision that's maybe not aligned with the community, or the community is not aware of, and can be both beneficial and damaging. I think the recent events were a little bit damaging, but that was just because it came as a shock to everybody. And
Okay.
so,
Sorry. Yeah. All right, Jesse.
Yes. So I did put that forward. It was a suggestion I made. And I will share how I got to it. When we launched, we didn't have a CEO. We never had a CEO for years. We were all a board. We all collectively made decisions. And as we grew and had more partnerships and things got more formal, people wanted to talk to the CEO. They wanted to talk to the CTO. We had to put titles on things. And so we did. Somebody has to sign contracts when you start actually going into negotiations. You have to have a name for each side of the contract, and somebody needs to sign it. That's the CEO. So we formed the foundation, in the Grand Caymans. So we had an entity, and Justin put his name on it because he was taking a lot of those types of responsibilities. And he continued to act in a decentralized, collective decision-making way. And he never took centralized decisions and neglected to let everybody participate. So my proposal is to get back to that. Somebody still needs to sign on the line, but we get right back to fully decentralized, collaborative decision-making.
All right.
And everybody on the board participates.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. All right. So coming back around to Ryan first. How can you ensure a better due diligence process for an upcoming CEO to ensure that the person is qualified enough to sail this ship?
So I think that if we're going to hire a CEO, I think that it needs to be a panel interview. I think that it's hard to CEO if we don't have the right people running a filter on that person and making sure that they are capable of that. I think it's difficult with the transparency issues that we have to kind of get there. I think that if it is a paid position though, and a CEO versus a voluntary, I think that the due diligence process is a lot easier.
Okay. Let's see. Jesse's next.
I think it's a very difficult situation. I can remember when we went through this about a year and a half ago. I think that I kind of agree with needing a panel and a more open communication for all the people that are participating in the selection. Everybody needs to see all the same things and communicate better with the candidate present, and also decision time needs to communicate better outside of when the candidate's being interviewed. Again, I advocate that we don't need to go through that process, but if we did, I think we need to do a lot of background checks and look at each individual's history, dig deep, and look at cultural things. And if we did have to select a CEO, I think we need to find a way to ensure there's no centralized power, and we can still avoid the situations we faced over the past 12 to 18 months.
Okay. WD.
I think Jesse said it really well there. To be honest, my hope would be that we are able to restructure things in a more decentralized way to where this doesn't become. I also think that I did not see this question before. It must have came in later, or maybe came in via DM or something. But I think it makes some assumptions about the process before that I don't know whether are true or not. Whether or not we didn't do enough due diligence before, or I don't know. It makes some assumptions like that. I think even with the best due diligence, things don't work out. There are a lot of other factors that play in. But yeah, my hope would be that we're not in a situation where we're trying to hire a central figure to run a chain that's supposed to be decentralized.
Okay. I think, that question was from a former employee who was hoping that there was more due diligence in some previous CEO appointments.
Hi, Nikki. Love you.
And also from Nikki, however, and WD, we're coming back to you.
Sure.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm out of order. Jesse, we're coming back to you first. What kinds of hard, soft skills will you be looking at, and what experience would matter the most to you?
Is this question about CEO selection again?
Correct. I apologize. Still about CEO selection.
I think the grit of a leader in terms of having deep experience, having led organizations before, and participated in, the trenches, so to speak, like really been part of a team, led the team, forced to make hard decisions, very boots on the ground, practical. Telos is not in a position to be, having a CEO that, is very hands off and just delegates to, a really strong resource rich organization. Telos is the opposite of that at this point. And we need a CEO who's like, hands on, taking things on himself or herself, and just getting down to brass tacks, taking care of business, and working closely with everybody else on a very conservative strategy. Not that risks are bad, but you need to take risks when you can, and when you're not in a position to take risks, you need to just stick with what you can do within your own kind of means.
Okay, Ryan.
I think first and foremost, kind of communication skills would be very high up there. Also, a recognizable face. I know it might be hard for us to pull a CEO like at that kind of level, but if they can make and are capable of bringing in some partnerships with the chain and can help facilitate those type of deals, that'd be great. I think that if they have the ability to just work in a transparent manner with the chain and just the community as a whole is going to be a very important skill to look for.
Okay. W Dude?
Yeah, I think the culture that we should have, especially at this point in time, despite our relatively old age for our crypto project, is more like a startup culture. And so when you have that sort of culture, I think you don't just need a heavy on the vision, but you need somebody that can get other people to follow that vision with you. And the sort of soft skills that go along with that are the sort of leadership and communication and skills. I think you need to be hands in the dirt if we're going to have a central figure leading the chain, and they're going to have we're doing this together, I'm doing this with you mindset, as opposed to I'm doing this to the chain or for the chain. So I really think I certainly accept the reality that somebody needs to sign our agreements and things like that at the end of the day. So my hope would be somebody that has a deep commitment to decentralization, a deep commitment to transparency, and a deep commitment to collaboration.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, sir. All right, WD, we're coming back to you as number one again. What are the top 3 things Guardians should focus on in the next 6 months to move Telos forward? Please be specific and explain why. I will give everybody a couple more minutes on this one.
So I think that this was sort of my stump speech at the beginning, as I literally had 3 things. And I think it's all around kind of getting back to our values, right? I think right now it's about transparency, it's about governance, and it's about community voice. And it's about elevating all of these things. I mentioned specific ideas for transparency, like open and transparent planning, budgets that are voted on. These things aren't wild, crazy ideas for the world of Web3 and crypto. I've mentioned that I think that we can even decentralize within Telos Foundation and within and maybe not so much TCD in the way that it operates. Governance. My job as a guardian would not be to create new governance structures. That's my job as a community member, as a participant, is to talk and to create structures that reflect those sorts of values of openness and transparency and participatory governance. But as I mentioned before, I think you can see where my brain and my heart is on those issues simply by doing a quick search for the governance proposals that the drafts that I put up there. I've sort of taken a pause on them right now after the election was announced, because I think right now that we should probably wait till we get the other side of this to make any sort of changes. Last but not least, I think Guardians need to get back in front of the community. I think one of the things that I can bring as a Guardian is that I'm involved. I know everybody from my fellow DeFi degenerates to the people at TCD to the people at TF at this point. I've created relationships with users, from everybody from users to the people that are developing the chain, and everyone in between. My plan as a Guardian is to continue to be present in those channels, even in the dark halls of the price channel, which I like to frequent. But I think that's what we need to do. We need to connect directly with users. We need to hear feedback. We need to pass it on. And ultimately, the first thing in that Guardian's statement about why they exist is to be a voice for the community, is to represent the Telos community. So yeah, those are the three things that I will be hyper focused on as a guardian if I should earn your vote.
All right, that's perfect. 3 minutes. Very good. Ryan.
Yeah, I think WD, that's hard to follow, because I think that the main issues that our chain is facing are the lack of transparency. I think that you bring a great point of with the guardians and like what their role is, it might, even though I want to bring new users to the chain and that be a very strong focus, that's not my primary focus as a guardian. Will be for what we're doing with the company and kind of the focus of that and where that sits in with the chain and bringing everybody into it. So, yeah, I think that trying to engage more with the community, really, I think that the transparency is by and far what we're hearing from the community's voice on what they would like to see from the chain. I think that there's a lot of confusion, a lot of just not knowing in general on what's going on as a whole, and like to bring that change to that. That's about it.
Okay. Awesome. Jesse.
So these are the top three priorities, right? You dropped the question off the screen.
Yep.
So, all right. So I think that I'll basically just assume that the Guardians are going to be more involved in decision-making based on everything I've seen and expect to happen when the new Guardians come in. So I think that transparency, I think it's important to streamline and make just the processes more efficient. Not that right now they're inefficient, but I do have concerns that we're going to over-engineer the governance. And I will say that I believe what Telos needs is not, I mean, I've said this to a few people, we're not going to get new users from Web 2, and we're not going to get new users from Web 3 at other blockchain ecosystems. People aren't going to come use our transparency. People aren't going to come use Telos. There's no like app for transparency that's going to drive gas fees and transactions and daily active users, like the metrics that you want to track and get to trend upwards, right? Our TVL doesn't go up because of transparency. That builds confidence in the network, but you still need to get users, you still need to get adoption, you still need to grow the network, grow the ecosystem. So very strongly support and agree with transparency. I think we need to look at our tokenomics a little bit and strive for a deflationary strategy. I think that's a message that resonates well within all the blockchain ecosystems out there. And I think that with the assumption that we are going to have the Guardians take a little bit more of a active participation role in decision-making in some of the strategic directions that Telos will go, I think it's important that we just keep it a very lean and simple process. We shouldn't have to put too much of our limited resources that we have into like new systems, new processes, or anything. We should have a very efficient process. The act of just making the decision should almost produce the transparency document or whatever it might be. That's why I suggested even doing some of this on chain. So that way what we have is a very efficient process where we can start making decisions that inherently offer the transparency. And then those decisions, I believe, should be focused on a goal of deflation. And I think the way to deflation is not necessarily to start trying to squeeze more juice and cut more things. I think BP pay is already very low, and I think that we should do some analysis of where Telos is at today, because a lot of changes have happened. People don't even realize we've already reduced a lot, and I think what we need to do is do some analysis, look where we might be able to adjust some of the tokenomics themselves, but focus on a user adoption strategy. Get more people coming to Telos, using the network. That's how we're going to get to deflation, by increasing gas fees, increasing transaction counts, and getting deflation by activity, because what we really need is users and adoption. And so the Guardians can focus on that if we get a really efficient decision-making process, and the Guardians all get to participate in kind of strategy with the rest of the team.
All right. Thank you, sir. Sorry to cut you off. We've got 2 questions left. Right here. Do you have a real exclamation mark plan to increase traffic traction on the Telos network? And Ryan, we're starting with, oh, sorry, W Dude, we're starting with you. And coincidentally, you have an app.
Sure. I do have an app, and an app that at one point I think was bringing as much traffic to the AVM as any other similar app, at a minimum, similar app, I would say. I think, yeah, we need more options. We need more places for users to go. We need to attract more users. We do need better tokenomics. We need all of these things are true, and yeah, I'm really encouraged that we have a builder grant coming in. I think we've made some really large investments into bringing more dApps, more product, more whatever folks are calling it onto the chain. I think we're going to have to figure out a way to have a niche that we really fit in. I'm a little bit wary of. I think we're past the days where you can simply throw a lot of money at incentives and things like that, and users just magically appear. And I think it's a race to the bottom anyway. I think we need quality. We need higher quality dApps. We need. I think Oku was a really good move. As much as my own self-interest and Symmetric would love it to be the top DEX at all times on the Telos network, people know Oku. People are going to come to Telos network from Oku. So,
all right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah, we're working on a single click authentication system. Everybody's familiar with passkeys with our authentication systems all around blockchain, or all around biometrics. From there, we're going to be abstracting away all the fun complexities of the resource model that Telos has. But at the same time, really embracing what Telos has to offer as far as users go. And we've talked about gas fees and increasing gas fees a whole lot. Where we kind of see the strength of Telos is the fact that we're actually able to lock up a huge amount of resources, and then have our transactions covered for the foreseeable future. And what we're doing is looking to put build kits together, attracting developers with simplicity, and as far as we're basically putting together kits to have it to where your authentication is handled. We have all the AI tools now that people can roll out MVPs, or at least concepts, within a couple of days. We're really focusing in on making that easy for people, even non-technical people, and embracing the venture capital kind of studio of Telos and help bring that about.
All right. Thank you, sir. Jesse.
I've got some ideas. I think there's a lot of opportunities out there for us now that it's been 6 months now since the EVM 2.0 RPC was released, but I think it solved a lot of the problems, compatibility issues, and really allowed Telos' speed and performance to kind of be uncorked, and there was no more bottleneck towards that. So finding apps that are user friendly and are going to drive user adoption, I think, is key. And anything that falls in that category is something I would support. And I think that with what we recently announced as the GigaChain developer grant part of the GigaChain benefits, that we'll be able to get some ZK apps. There's some things that we could be considering doing in the short term that really embrace zero knowledge and allow users to adopt that technology and benefit from it. So I'm all about things that people can touch, feel, and experience, because I think when they do experience Telos, they'll be happy. So just getting it in the hands of users, give them something to do. We have a strong community.
Awesome. Very good. Well, guys, that's really it. I've very much enjoyed this conversation. I think the community probably has as well. I know that a couple of you have hard stops here in the next 2 minutes. I do as well. And I've appreciate your time and your willingness to volunteer for the Telos Guardians. So I hope the community's really enjoyed this. And again, I encourage everybody to go to app.telos.net to participate in our governance election. And with that, we bid everyone adieu.
Thanks, Jens. Thanks, JT.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.